you mentioned the Holocaust, and I think for many American Jews, when they think of Poland and they think of Jews, the overwhelming, if you will, the overwhelming impression or the overwhelming memory is of the Holocaust. And so many of them, when they come to Poland, whether from Israel or North America, they feel this moral, almost religious obligation to honor those who died, to and to visit the sites of the genocide. And so, what role do you think POLIN Museum plays, or why should POLIN Museum matter to North American Jews? Of course, as you said, it has a lot to do with the history of their own families. For some who, like my family, came before the war, even though they lost their relatives during the Holocaust, many of those who come are, in fact, either survivors or children or grandchildren of survivors for whom the Holocaust is a very central part of who they are. So, how would you express why POLIN Museum and the history of Polish Jews that we present is or should be meaningful to them?
Well, first, the relation, I think this is a crucial aspect or crucial question for the understanding of the POLIN Museum, is the relation between how it presents the Shoah history, the Holocaust history, and the rest of the Jewish history of Poland. Because POLIN Museum, the building I'm in at present, makes part of a Holocaust memorial complex. The museum building stands in front of the Warsaw Ghetto Monument, the most known Holocaust monument in the world, probably. There is a number of other smaller monuments related to the Holocaust in our vicinity. So the museum makes part of a Holocaust memorial complex, but this is not a Holocaust museum, or more specifically, it's not only a Holocaust museum. The story we show is not reduced to the dramatic, horrible end of most of Polish Jews, but not all of them. So the Holocaust Gallery is actually the biggest, the largest of the 9 galleries of the museum, but it's not the last one. There was life, there has been Jewish life in Poland after the war, quite fascinating. How the small rest of the Polish Jews, 10% of the pre-war number, re-established Jewish communal life and their private lives in post-war Poland. Then most of them emigrated, many of them to build the state of Israel. Literally, most of the leaders that were building the state of Israel in 1940s were of Polish Jewish origin, but some of them remained to the present, or their children, or grandchildren. And also, let me add, a part of my interest in this Jewish history was that parallelly to the development of my interest in Jewish history was the miracle of the revival of Jewish life in Poland. These are parallel but somehow related phenomena. And I could see it. I could see people who were becoming Jews again, so to speak, rediscovering the Jewish part of their identities. And now it's a small but very vibrant community. And for me, a nice measure of being vibrant is how many quarrels you can have in any group of Polish Jews on any topic when they, 3 of them gather. It's a part of the great Polish Jewish tradition we should maintain, I suppose. So I think this is an important component of the museum. And to American Jews, well, in addition to what I already said, that Poland was the key part of the diaspora history for several generations, including at the moment of the great wave of Jewish migration from Europe to the United States. So almost all the American Jews are of Polish Jewish origin, probably 80%, maybe a little bit less, maybe more, but it means many of them. And what I realized that only a few of them know anything about it. And that's a shame. It's such a fantastic history. If it's so interesting for me, it can be interesting for others. Moreover, I saw many Americans coming to our museum, Jewish and non-Jewish. I was guiding our VIP guests through the core exhibition, and they were increasingly fascinated it was not that their interest in Jewish history became satisfied with this visit. The opposite. They wanted to know more at the end of the exhibition. I think it shows the potential that people were discovering that there is much more than they knew about it. And this applies to most of the visitors, but I think for American visitors, because of this pre-existing misperception that Poland is just a big cemetery, the surprise was different, was bigger, because of these assumptions they had that there are no Jews, there are only ruins and the cemeteries. And there is much more than ruins and the cemeteries. Yes, there are many cemeteries, actually 1,200 we have in our catalog, and someone is to take care of them. We have a special program now in education to make local communities more committed to preservation of the Jewish cemeteries. Without them, we will never protect them. So there are many reasons, and I don't want to be reductionist, to reduce the interest in Polish Jewish history just to the origins of Americans' visitors. Because I suppose you may develop interest in Polish Jewish history for a variety of personal reasons. The Jewish history of Poland was a fantastic laboratory of a variety of attempts how to deal with modernity, for example, how to respond to new challenges. We still can learn a lot, even, well, maybe especially in our turbulent times.